Hello all. For those who just joined in, thank you for attending. We're just going to allow just 1 or 2 more minutes for everyone else to join in at the 6:30 mark, and we'll start shortly. But thank you all for your patience. All righty. Well, thank you all for joining. We're going to go ahead and get started. So again, thank you all for joining Keys to Your Future, our newly launched Key Club workshop series on financial literacy, professional development, and any sort of personal development that we can give you on the district end, as well as from guest speakers who are going to join us today. So just wanted to set some ground rules. So throughout this whole workshop, please make sure to mute your microphones for the duration of the whole workshop. And for this workshop, just like previous ones, we will have a Q&A panel at the end. So please, if you have any questions, throughout the presentation, please leave it for the end. You'll have the ability to write it in the chat or also raise your hand and unmute your mic. And of course, if you do raise your hand, we will call on you just to make sure everything is all organized. And of course, we want to make sure that this is going to be a really great experience for you, really great learning experience for you. So of course, sit back and relax, take notes if you like, and we really hope that this workshop series will be a really great way to introduce you to the many topics that can help you develop in the future, especially after high school. So just a little bit about myself, if you don't know me. My name is Murtaza Hussein, and I'm your Florida District Treasurer, as well as for the Cayman Islands and Turks and Caicos. Just a little bit of background, I am a senior in high school, and I currently attend Coral Glades High School in Coral Springs, Florida. And a little fun fact about myself is that I've been a South Floridian all my life, so I definitely love the warm weather down here. For those of you who are new to Keys to Your Future, again, this is a workshop series on financial literacy, professional development, and just overall personal development. We plan to present a workshop on a key topic every 1 to 2 months. And throughout the year, we do plan to present topics, such as essentials of budgeting, saving, consumer protection, job searching, resume building, interview prep, public speaking, college preparation, which you will soon see is the main topic for today, and just many more per your request. We've been really excited with all your survey responses and all the topics that you would like to see, and I know college preparation was one of those, so we're really happy to deliver that today. And even in our previous 2 workshops, we talked a lot about budgeting and saving in our first one. And in our last one, our second one, we did talk a lot about career readiness. These workshops will be available for you on our Key Club website really shortly. So if you did miss that, rest assured you can access those. And even this workshop today, for any of your peers or friends that are missing today's workshop. So without further ado, what is today's workshop? Many of you already know from the invitation, but today is key number 3, college readiness. So now I'm gonna, transition it over to both of our guest speakers, and they'll introduce themselves as well. So really, really excited.
All right, awesome. Thank you so much, Murtaza. Hello, everyone, and thank you so much for coming to this installment of Keys to Your Future. My name is Meeth, and I currently serve as the District Governor for Florida District of Circle K International. I am currently a student at the University of South Florida, majoring in biomedical sciences, and I am a 4th year, so hopefully I'll be graduating this year.
Hi, everyone. My name is Celine Kavak. I serve as this year's Kiwanis Family Relations Chair for CKI, and I'm the immediate past Division 21 Lieutenant Governor. I'm a first-year student at the University of Florida, majoring in public health. So I still have a while to go before I graduate.
So before I move on, I do want to say a lot of our focus on this isn't going to be too specific because everyone's college experience is going to vary. So a lot of the information we're going to be giving is very general. So make sure that you are keeping track of what we do talk about. And if you have any questions, please feel free to ask them at the very end.
Okay, so when it comes to choosing your school, there's a lot of factors to look at: cost, majors offered, sizes, professional development opportunities, distance from home, social scene. There really is no right answer when it comes to choosing your school. It's going to be a combination of these and many, many more. But for example, cost is definitely important. You want to make sure that the school you're looking at has the majors offered. You don't want to necessarily choose a school and then choose a major after. The size of the school can be very important. I know some people prefer smaller class sizes, some people prefer bigger class sizes, professional opportunities. I'm a true believer that any school can offer you opportunities as long as you go in and you seek them out, but some schools do have very career specific programs. Distance from home, this can be very important for some people. If you want to commute while you're in college, you want a college that's close to your home. If you want to move further away, and social scene, make sure you fit into the school. So again, there's a lot of factors to look at, but these are just some of them.
All right. So once you do decide what school it is that you want to go to, you need to figure out how you're going to actually be living there. So I was fortunate, or I guess unfortunate, I don't know how you're supposed to see it, but I've actually been able to experience all three of these different options. So residence halls, my first year, I wanted to live in a residence hall because I didn't know anyone going to the university that I'm attending now, and I wanted to get to know people. So this is a really good option if you know that you're not necessarily the most social person. You're going to force yourself into a situation where you have to interact with those around you. It is a lot easier to live on campus, if you're like me, you don't like waking up early, being on campus, it makes it a lot easier to get to your classes, especially if you have the early 8 a.m.s. So I highly recommend that for maybe first year students, but I know there are also a lot of first year students that know how to, live their life. They know what they want and they'll go right on to off campus housing and that works for them. So off campus housing is the second option. There are many types of off campus housing. So they're student affiliated. This doesn't mean that the universities have a direct impact on what goes on. However, the apartment complexes may advertise it as student housing because students are the ones that basically live there. So you want to make sure that you're living in a place where you're going to be able to concentrate. My roommates obviously are students and we're all studying, but I also know that I'm not going to have to deal with my neighbors being really loud and partying all the time. I know that they're also in school, just something to keep in mind. Non-student affiliated housing isn't a bad option. They're going to be a lot cheaper for you. So if that's more in your budget, that's something to keep in mind. They're a little bit further away, but they can still be a really good option for you if if you want to live in a specific spot. And they can oftentimes be a lot nicer too. Landlords can be great. They're not always horrible like you see in the TV shows. And I actually lied. So Greek life is not something that I've experienced in my life. But that is sometimes the scene that people want to be around. And if you're with a large group of like-minded people and you want to live with them and that's something that you can do, then that's definitely an option to explore as well. Living at home, this is actually I didn't want to live at home, which is why I decided to go to USF. But we were all kind of forced back home during quarantine, and it was interesting to go back. But looking back on it, maybe wasn't the worst thing in the world. So I wouldn't necessarily count out universities that are directly nearby because oftentimes you're going to save a lot of money because you won't have to spend money on housing. Who knows? Maybe your parents will even feed you for free. All kinds of benefits of living at home. And one thing that you realize is that you're not necessarily going to get that time with your parents. Really important stuff. I didn't realize that when I was leaving college, and it kind of hit me when I came back for a little bit. So food. This is my favorite part about honestly life. So my meal plan, um, I did want to get a meal plan my first year because I knew that I had no idea what college was going to be like, and I didn't want to worry about how I was going to get my next meal. It is a little expensive, but that's just something that you have to compromise on because you're going to have cafeterias all over campus and it's really easy, but the food is generally pretty good. And if you know that you're going to be living a busy lifestyle or you just want the free time, a meal plan is a great option. You don't have to get the one that they offer to students that live on campus. You can even get a reduced meal plan. A couple years ago, even while I was living off campus, I still had a meal plan just so that I can have a meal in between my class and I have to worry about where I was going to get food. And it was really convenient to have. Cooking, this is an option for a lot of people. I again, you just need to figure out whether or not it's the right thing for you. A lot of people don't like cooking. I personally love cooking, so it is a bit of a hobby, though I have been told that I spend too much time cooking, so that's why I had to go for the meal plan option. But if you can balance your time well and it's something that you can enjoy and get creative with, highly recommend. Of course, you're going to save a lot more money that way, and you're going to be able to figure out your nutritional needs and cater it towards that. And of course, going out to eat. I mean, you're going to do this. Everyone gets a little lazy, everyone gets a little busy, and of course, everyone wants to hang out with their friends, hopefully post pandemic. Yeah, make sure to treat yourself every now and then. Depending on the city you go to, there are going to be a lot of great local areas. I'm still discovering all the places in Tampa, and I'm having a blast. Celine?
So for homesickness, I actually struggled a little bit with this when I moved away. So it was completely new for me, and I spent so much time at home, especially with the pandemic, that leaving for college was kind of a shock. So it definitely was a stress in the beginning, and that coupled with living alone, where I had to figure out how to cook and clean and balance my time, it was very, very difficult. But I did find a solution. I put myself into a routine. And just because that worked for me doesn't mean that it works for everyone. So just be sure to figure out what's right for you. But again, living alone definitely is one of those things that does come as a shock when you first move away. And it's easier for some people than others, but it's definitely good. And now, I don't struggle with it anymore. But in the beginning, it was definitely hard.
Mm-hmm. So once you end up going out and living alone, not necessarily alone, but away from your parents, you're gonna have to deal with these things called roommates. I'm gonna talk a little quietly right now because mine are home, but sometimes they're not gonna help clean, sometimes they're not gonna do the dishes, and that's just something that you have to figure out how to deal with. Don't be upset with them. You can stand your ground, just let them know what's bothering you. The most important thing to do in a situation like this is communicate. And the reason why you want to live on campus your first year, in my opinion, is because you have no responsibility to anyone, right? You have a problem, you tell the school, they'll fix it. If you sign a lease with someone and you're off campus and then they bother you, you're kind of stuck for a year. So make sure you know who you're living with. I live with my friends now, so we don't have too many problems and it's a great time.
And when you get to college, joining organizations is so, so helpful. I know I definitely was looking for a group of like-minded individuals when I moved here, because I didn't know many people in Gainesville, and I kind of wanted to depart from a lot of my high school friends and find a new group to socialize with as well. So during the pandemic, for me, it was really important to find a group where I felt like I fit in. For me, it was CKI. It doesn't mean it's going to be like that for everyone. As long as you go out and find a group, it's really easy to get acclimated. And these groups usually do end up having older students in them that can help you around campus, help guide you. You can go to them for advice. So it's great for connections. It's great for finding different opportunities. And it's honestly great for forming these friendships when you first get to college.
Mhm. One thing that I do want to talk about is something called the imposter syndrome. I don't know if you guys have heard of it, but it's essentially when someone is someone that doesn't believe in their ability to do well in whatever it is they're working on, a lot of self-doubt, and it'll affect their ability to actually get work done, achieve the goals they want to, etc. This is something that a lot of people probably suffer from and not really realize it. It's really easy for us to be harsh on ourselves, but you need to understand that you are working hard and you're already at a university. That in itself is a feat, and it's something that you should look back on, and you're going to end up doing fine. As long as you're putting in the work, just recognize that you're in college because you want to achieve something you want, whether it be, just getting your bachelor's, get to med school, get to grad school, just getting a BA, whatever the case is. Just know that you've gotten that far, and that you can do it. Don't let the imposter syndrome hold you back.
And I think the competitiveness and the academic atmospheres of schools really contributes and feeds into this imposter syndrome as well. So just to kind of build off what Meath said, it's really important to not get caught up in what you might see in your school. Yes, it's competitive and a lot of people are here trying to do well, but you're here for a reason. You got in, you're definitely smart enough to stay in. So it's good to have that competitive mindset where it keeps you working hard, but it's really important to take a step back and realize that you can do it as well, and to not let the pressures get to you, because it's really, really easy to get overwhelmed when you go to these competitive schools, especially.
That being said, we know you're smart. We know you're talented. We know you can do it, but school does get tough. And that's where I think study groups come in. I know me personally, I was very much independent when it came to studying back in high school. I was able to handle the workload. It worked out for me. I came to college and it didn't work out so well for me. You know, I was going to the library, struggling to focus. You never really had to work that hard. So it was something that I had to acclimate to. And I wasn't really able to do it on my own. I highly recommend that you try giving like study groups a shot. You know, when you have a whole bunch of people that are going through the same stuff that you are, it's a lot easier to come up with solutions. So one thing that I found, this works really well with the majors, like some majors. So I myself am pre-med. So if I look around my classroom on the first day in Chem 1, I notice that they're probably going to be the same people 3 years later in my biochemistry class. You know, you start to look around, you notice that the same faces are following you around, and you just want to make sure that you're gravitating towards them because they're ultimately going to be the ones that are going to get you through college, and you'll be able to help them, and of course they'll help you.
So, the reason for going to college, it's really important to take a step back and remember that you are there to get an education. And what goes along with this is going to class. I am a huge, huge, huge proponent of going to class. College is very different from high school in the aspect that no one's really taking attendance. There are very few professors that do require this attendance. Sometimes they'll give you quizzes or clear questions at the end of class to gauge attendance. But other than these select few professors, no one's forcing you to sit in a classroom or to sit through a lecture. But even with this, it's so important to go to the class and pay attention. Not every professor posts the materials after the class. You never know what in-class assignment they're going to give out. And honestly, for me, going to class just holds me accountable, and it makes me make sure that I do the work and end up studying in that time slot so I don't let all of my work build up later on.
I'm going to ask that you all definitely write that down. You know, Celine's a first year and figured that out. It took me about 3 years to figure that out. I was not as diligent of a student. Make sure to go to class, especially if you retake a class and you start going to class, you'll start to realize how much more you can actually pick up. Trust me, firsthand experience. Another thing is do your homework. Homework is the best thing in the world in college. You guys don't believe me? Trust me. 15% of your grade will come from homework, and it's the best 15% you'll ever have because the other 85 is going to be all tests, and they're all stressful and they're all really hard. Make sure to do your homework, please.
And never be afraid to ask for help. A lot of professors hold office hours. And I know at UF personally, I go to a super big school. So some of my classes have 300, 400, 500 students where I can't just ask a question during class. But I don't let that hold me back. When my professors hold office hours, I make sure to go and either ask the professor or ask the teaching assistants. And almost always, they just walk you through the lesson or the specific problems again, and it clears everything up immediately. So just never feel afraid to ask for help. There's always going to be concepts that you don't understand, and it doesn't mean you're not smart enough to understand it or to be in the class. It just means that you might need to go talk with your professor or a teaching assistant later on to grasp the concept.
Mm. So it is important to realize that college can be fun, but also know the primary reason that you're there. And it is going to be 4 whole years of your life, maybe a little less, maybe a little more for some. But you want to make sure that you have some type of plan going in. And the best way to create that plan is to look at all of the classes that you have to take and sign up for them as soon as you can. So it will vary. And a lot of the time, you're not going to have a choice on how soon you can sign up for classes. Generally, seniors are going to get priority. They'll sign up first. But if you are an incoming freshman and you're on the honors college, you get priority sign up. If you have a higher GPA, you'll get priority sign up, even if you have more credits done, not even necessarily you finished a full year ahead of someone. So signing up for classes and getting the classes you want will allow you to make your schedule better. Otherwise, you're going to be forced into a position where you have to take classes that you don't necessarily want to and aren't going to be as interesting. So you'll be fulfilling the same requirements as everyone else, but they're going to be taking classes that they find interesting. And you know, if you find a class interesting, chances are you're going to end up doing a little bit better in it. It's really underrated. But that being said, things don't always work out. So make sure you're always looking for your options. Um, it's hard to explain right now because you haven't seen it, but whenever you get into college, you'll see all the classes you can take for what your degree requires, and you want to like make a mental note or even write it down and figure out which classes you would like, you know, from your first best to all the way to your least, and try to prioritize signing up for them as soon as possible.
And definitely talk to an advisor as needed. When it comes to signing up for classes, advisors are great in helping you plan out what classes you might need. Sometimes, even if you do have a list of the classes you need to get a specific degree, you might miss something. There might be another class you can take in place of it. Advisors are fantastic. And I know here at UF, each college has its own set of advisors. I know a lot of schools are very similar, and they're all very open to talking. All you have to do is shoot an email, ask for a meeting. I try to meet with my advisor once a semester just to go over what I'm doing and make sure I'm on the right track to graduation. Some colleges here do require that you meet with an advisor on a schedule like that. Some don't. So if your school doesn't require it, I still totally recommend talking with someone, because sometimes it's good to just have a game plan and make sure that you have an adult there that understands the full process of signing up for classes and what your degree is to walk you through it.
All right. And the last point on this slide is bring your water bottle, laptop charger, and granola bar. That may not make too much sense to you right now, but in essence, what I want you to get out of this is create a routine for yourself, right? I found myself that, if I go to campus, I generally am going to have these 3 items with me. They've been through the worst, they've been through the best days. They're there for me. So make sure you figure out your routine and figure out what your water bottle is. Maybe it's a skateboard, maybe it's your headphones, whatever the case is. Bring with you what makes you comfortable and is going to get you through the day. College is fun, but you definitely want to have some things that are going to be able to help you along the way. For me, trusty water bottle, 32 ounces. Can't leave home without it.
So the next topic is self-care, and honestly, coming to college taught me how important this is. In high school, I never really took time to step back and take some time for myself. I was always busy working and doing extracurriculars and studying, trying to get into the college, not realizing that it just gets busier. So now I make it a priority to put my self-care first. Sometimes I'll take a day off, or if I can't do that, just make sure that I can squeeze in 20, 30 minutes of some hobbies I like. For me, working out is always my escape. It's what I do to de-stress and to take care of myself. So if I know I have a busy day, I like putting some time aside to do stuff like that. Everyone always has different hobbies. So I know Meath likes cooking. I know he'll just take the evening and cook. Some people like crafts. So it's just good to find activities that you like that can help you stress relief while still keeping yourself in mind.
Mm-hmm. And hobbies and finding an escape are very similar, but what I mean by finding an escape is like really just going far out there. People are going to look at you and think, okay, what are you doing? Should you be doing that? And for me, that's video games. I've had plenty of people tell me, why do you waste your time with this? And it's like, it's what I like to do. I need it for myself. Trash reality TV. This is all Celine. I'm going to throw under the bus on that. That's not me. Meditation, I've actually been recently getting into it. I've tried it. Murtaza actually gave me the idea, and it's been working for me. I fall asleep a little bit, but that's okay. I'm still getting the rest that I need. That is my escape. Oh, and then sorry, there are also lots of services provided by the universities. So counselors, mental health seminars, these are all options that you're going to find on the website. You can look through them. A lot of universities are becoming mindful of how hard college can be, and they're starting to recognize that students stress out about it. They'll go on forums, they'll see it, people are freaking about their Orgo exams, and universities are mindful of that, and they have been providing counselors that you can talk to one-on-one. They're not even group things. If you really need the help, you're paying for these essentially by going to the university. So make sure that you're taking full advantage of them.
And maintaining friendships is super important. For me, I'm a very social person. When I want to take some time, away from school, I like hanging out with friends. And it's really important, even though we get super busy, to keep in mind that we do have these friendships and to reach out with friends and make sure that we're not always pushing them off. So again, like for me, it might be doing a study group with my friends or just going and grabbing some lunch between classes, post-pandemic, hanging out. So just remember to maintain what's important to you. And if that's friendships, be sure to maintain those friendships.
So, well, that's not good. Okay, well, fortunately, I still have the full list. So I wanted to talk a little bit about like my personal work-life balance, just so you guys get an idea of what like your life could look like. Obviously, there are going to be some changes, but the first thing that I do is wake up. I do try to wake up at a specific time. Even if I don't have class early in the morning, I found that me keeping up my schedule, waking up at 8 o'clock will help me wake up for my 9, 9 a.m. classes, even if it's, a few days later, just because you're already in that rhythm. Once I wake up, I usually walk my dog. First thing, you got to take care of the dog. Breakfast, I put a question mark here. I feel like normal people eat breakfast. I can't remember the last time I've had breakfast. They say it's important. Some say it's a farce. I don't know. You do you. Study or do some homework before classes, especially if I have a quiz right beforehand. I'll go ahead and read over some of my notes. The homework, I'm not doing it before class because it's due that day. I'm doing the homework then because I'm getting it done early, and I highly recommend that you do the same. Don't leave homework till the last minute. Go to class. Really emphasizing this, y'all. Go to class. It is very important. Lunch. So this is kind of like a break for me. College is gonna get busy, and sometimes making food and eating lunch is considered your break. I'll put on some TV. Right now I'm watching Parks and Recs, fantastic show, really enjoying it. Just like an episode during lunch, it's a great break to have. Go back to studying, doing some homework. Unfortunately, it never really goes away. Extracurriculars, I honestly kind of call this a break as well. CKI, that's just kind of what my passion is. So me being able to go through my emails and plan stuff for my district, maybe collaborate with key clubbers, it's all a great time. It's something that works for me. Walking the dog again, you got to give Almond all the attention. Almond is my dog. And I know he appreciates it. It gives me the mental break. I get out of the house. I'm probably sitting in front of my laptop maybe 8 hours a day. I know my body appreciates it. We go back into breaks, making dinner. As Celine mentioned, I do like cooking. It's a really fun hobby, but maybe that's not for you. You don't have to prioritize it the same way that I do. Maybe do something quick and easy. It's just going to come down to what you like to do. I have a clean and do dishes. I'm weird. I really like chores. Like if I could have one wish, it would be an extra hour every day so I can just clean everything in my house. Again, that's just me. Find what makes you happy and make sure that you're actually prioritizing yourself, because school will overwhelm you or whatever is going on. Um, Running and doing push-ups. So I have this on the list. School will get busy. You might have a job. I'm working part-time right now as well. You don't want to neglect your physical health. We talk a lot about mental health. That's been a hot topic, but physical health hasn't necessarily gone away. And just taking 20 minutes out of your day to go on a quick walk, that's going to be really helpful. It'll keep you focused. Trust me. Definitely prioritize it too a little bit. You don't have to go every single day, maybe just like 3 times a week, and your body will greatly thank you for it. And then I always end the day off with some TV or YouTube, and then I go to bed. I always try to go to bed early because I really like to sleep, and I know that I have to wake up early. But every now and then, you might want to go out and you can mess up your sleep schedule just a little bit, but make sure that you're keeping it relatively consistent so you can keep up this lifestyle. Because the second you lose your routine, that's exactly when life is going to get very difficult. I'm sorry about the bullet list. It got a little wonky.
So colleges are also obviously fantastic for career development. A lot of us are here to either jumpstart our careers or find a pathway into the careers that we want to go into. Definitely don't wait to get involved with career development. I know a lot of people wait a couple years until their senior year, their junior year. You can go in any time. I know I tried to go to a bunch of career development stuff as a freshman, and it's honestly set me up for so much success even now. So a lot of schools offer career development centers. I can specifically speak a little bit more to UF and some other state schools. They all have centers where they can look at your resumes. They'll do mock interviews. Like if you want to go to medical school or law school, you can talk with an advisor there that'll run you through a fake medical school or law school interview and make sure that they're giving you guidance and pointers. A lot of colleges also offer research centers, internship finders, and study abroad centers. There's honestly so many opportunities out there, especially in the careers that we all want to go into. All you have to do is seek it out. At UF, it's super easy. You just sign up at a couple of these career development centers and they send you emails every day of different opportunities. And it's helped me find so much stuff. But honestly, just take whatever they give and use it because it's really, really helpful.
I was wondering, are we gonna get to talking about how to get into college, or is this mainly for adjusting your life once you're in college?
Well, we are at the end, and we wanted to keep this presentation brief because college isn't very generalizable. But if you guys have any specific questions on how to get into college, we can definitely answer some. we weren't sure about the timeline. I haven't applied to college in a while, so I wasn't sure when people start and when they stop applying, if I'm being honest. But I can answer as many questions as you guys would like on the topic, and everything else that we just talked about. I saw a lot of questions throughout the chat. I couldn't actually answer them, but I guess we can go ahead and start calling on people, if that's okay, Murtaza. You're kind of the boss here.
Oh, yeah, oh, yeah, no worries. We can start off with some of the questions in the chat, and like I know there's some people who use the raise your hand feature. I know there's one right now. So I'll leave it up to you how you want to navigate it, and yeah, we can start off with the chat or wherever you like.
Okay. Well, I'll just like go down the list. I see. Oh, there's so many questions. Okay. Are you able to upkeep hobbies? So this person wants to keep drawing, running. The answer is definitely yes. You know, as long as you manage your time, you actually have a lot more free time in college. Like I know people say that it's a lot easier and you have a lot more free time. That is true. I don't know about the easy part, but you definitely have a lot more time. But the thing is, people aren't going to tell you how to use your time. That's something that you have to figure out on your own. Time management is extremely important, especially if you're not going to be living at home. You know, you don't really have anyone that's going to keep you accountable. You know, your roommate's not going to go up to you and say, "Hey, did you do your homework?" the same way that your parents would. You know, you're going to have to keep that in mind and just hold yourself accountable. But I can tell you that I definitely have time to like keep up with my hobbies, even though I think I live a relatively busy lifestyle. I see. Are there a lot of huge parties? There are a lot of huge parties. You know, if that's something that you're interested in, definitely recommend. Oh man, there's so many questions. Do I have any time management tips? So what I did essentially is I could talk about time management for a really long time, but I created like rules of thumbs for myself essentially. So just a few ones, like just a few that come off the top of my head is like if a task comes to me and I can finish in less than 5 minutes, I'll go ahead and do it right then and there. You know, so like when I'm like done with a meal, I'll wash my dish right then and there and I'll put it in the drying rack. You know, if I get an email, I'll go ahead and do it right then and there. You know, just something like that. Selena, are there any questions that you would like to answer?
Someone did ask what it's like to go to a big university, and I think the two of us can kind of talk about this, but UF is bigger. So I actually did not want to go to a big university at all. That was like the one thing I had on my list when I was applying to college and choosing a college. I did not want to go to a big university, but I still ended up at UF. So honestly, being here, it doesn't feel like a big university at all. Even in these schools that feel ginormous, I still have classes where I only have 9, 10 students. And as long as you're making the effort and to go like talk to the professors or going to office hours, it's really easy to build these relationships and to get internship opportunities through professors or to build these lasting connections for recommendation letters later. So, you know, like if you had asked me this a year ago, I could have told you that big university is not for me. But now that I'm here, it doesn't feel like that at all. And I love how big it is because it always means that I can meet new people and there's a lot of classes I can take and there's a lot of different things I can do on campus.
Oops, sorry to interrupt, but I know someone in the chat was raising their hand. I believe that was Vanessa. Feel free to unmute your mic as well if you wanted to ask through the mic.
Oh, thank you. I just wanted to ask if like I've been told a lot of times that like being in national honor societies during high school is something they look at a lot. Is it really that important? Or if it's not, then what would you say is important?
So colleges are looking for very, very well-rounded people. I wouldn't say there's one extracurricular that will get you into college or that will, nothing's going to be a make or break. When it comes to your SAT scores, your grades, your extracurriculars, colleges are going to look at everything and they want to make sure that you're going to be a great fit at the school. So just because you're not in a particular honor society or you don't think you're doing enough doesn't mean that you won't get into a college because they're looking at so many factors. And as long as you have like extracurriculars and grades and SAT scores, you're fine. But there's not one thing that'll make or break you getting into a school.
Mm-hmm. I'll speak a little bit on that. You know, that one student that's in NHS and doesn't go to service project and doesn't do anything, they're not going to be nearly as impressive as the kid that was in photography club and is doing all kinds of projects with their museum and is able to display that passion through their essays and whatnot. That's what colleges are looking for. They want someone that cares about what they're doing and not doing not doing stuff because they think that they need to get into places. Just make sure that you know what you're passionate about and the university that you're interested understands that. And if you're able to convey that well, then you shouldn't have any problem getting into where it is you want to go. How hard would you say classes are? And is homework really excessive? I wouldn't say the homework is excessive. I think the struggle comes with studying. You never really know how much you have to study for exams, especially like the first test of the semester. You get a feel for what professors are like after the first exam. I always say, if it's the first one, definitely study as hard as you can because it could be a really hard test. It could be really easy. You don't lose anything by overstudying, but you definitely lose a lot by understudying. And, starting off with a D on your first exam is definitely going to set the tone for the entire course. You definitely don't want to play catch up the entire semester. How hard would you say classes are? That's going to vary from person to person. Even being a pre-med student, I'm fortunate in that science classes generally click for me. Honestly, it was like the English classes that I found most hard, like most difficult. Like I'm not a very good writer. So it's going to vary from person to person. If you know what your strengths are, then you're going to realize which classes you're going to have to work harder for.
And every class and every major is different too. So humanities majors, for example, like at UF, will assign a lot more homework than STEM-based majors. So it really depends what you're doing, but it's not like high school where they will hand you assignment and it's due the next morning.
Mm-hmm. What are some study tips that you have? Honestly, admittedly, not a great studier, but I will tell you something that has been working for me for the past year or two, and that is it's hard for me to stay focused for a really long time. So what I do is I study for 25 minutes and then give myself a 5-minute break, and I'll do that 3 or 4 times over. So I'll have studied for, I say, 2 hours with 15 minutes of it in intermittent breaks, and that's something that has really helped me. And then I'll take like a long break, maybe like a 30-minute break after that, and I'll keep doing that over and over again throughout the day if I really need to study for something. That being said, if I know that I have a class and I have a test for that class and I really need to study, I'll forego the breaks because you need to know when you can afford to give yourself that time or when you really have to cram.
And a lot of schools offer tutoring services as well. I know UF has something called Study Edge and Smoking Notes, and they help a lot when it comes to test prep. So schools have these resources. They have resources you can pay for. They have free resources. So there's a lot of different ways to study, and everyone in every class is going to be a little bit different. But as long as you figure out what works for you, you'll be fine.
I saw a really interesting. Oh, I see. Does IB program fulfill? Okay, so I did the IB program, and I think, oh man, I have my own thoughts about the IB program, but I will tell you that what it does help you with is that college will be a little easy in the beginning because of it, because of the sheer amount of work that comes with IB. I will say that, and it gave me a little bit of an edge going into. I'm sure other programs like ACE are probably very similar as well. I can only speak on IB. Maybe Celine can talk about ACE because I know she did that. But as for credits, it depends on what classes you take and what major you end up going to. I mean, if the HL and SL classes you end up taking don't necessarily align with what you're interested in doing, they're not going to be too helpful. But I will say that the intensity of going through, these programs, they do help with college. I won't deny that.
I think my Wi-Fi cut out. Okay, and to speak a little bit about AP and ACE, so that's the program I did while I was in high school. My school didn't offer IB. Not every school accepts every credit. I think Meath stated this. I wasn't sure. My Wi-Fi just kind of chopped up, but they're great for getting your general ed requirements out of the way. So I know taking AP microeconomics in high school, for example, getting the credit, I don't have to take it again in college, whereas it's a Florida state requirement. So it's good for stuff like that, but every program is different. I know the major I'm in, I can only use one AP credit for the classes. So I have to kind of pick and choose. So it really depends where you go, what program you're doing. But like Meath said, the work that we put into doing these ACE and AP programs really does set you up for success when you start college. ACE also offers the Bright Futures 100%. Yeah, so the ACE program does help get the Bright Futures scholarship for the Florida public schools. So again, every school is different. That would be more of a question for your school's college and career center on how to apply for Bright Futures and how to apply ACE to that.
What's the difference between college and community college? I'm assuming you mean universities when you say college. So the immediate pros and cons that I see is I don't know if you can make a real pros and cons list of each because I feel as though both schools are catered to a certain individual. For community college, if you prefer a smaller classroom size, you want to work with the teacher a little bit more closely, then a community college is going to be the option for you. If you want to save money, that's a big thing. I'm of the belief that if you are pre-med and that's what you're dead set on doing, there's no point in going to a really fancy school and getting those classes done and paying for them when you can just stay in state and get them done. If I didn't have bright futures and my classes weren't paid for, I probably would have considered going to a community college and getting those gen eds out of the way because you'd save so much money doing that. I think there's a stigma behind community colleges. I'm sure you guys are all familiar with it, but honestly, there's nothing wrong with them, and they're definitely the best option for a lot of students, and it's just something to consider.
And someone in the chat also asked, how many credits would you say is normal for first years? And does that depend on the course of study? So I know at my school, and I think at USF as well, people take between 12 to 18 credits a semester. I definitely made the mistake my first semester of taking on 17 credits because I thought I could do it. And while I got through it and everything was okay, taking less credits doesn't necessarily mean that your course load is easier or harder. It really does depend on the classes you take. Like there are 5-6 credit courses that are a lot easier than the 3-credit organic chemistry class you'll take. So it really depends, and it really does depend on the program you're going for, but between 12 to 18 is the normal amount for any semester in college.
I see best resources that have helped on the SAT.
The free practice exams that College Board posts.
Yeah, I didn't study much for the SAT, so this might be I know that bookstores have SAT books. You don't even have to buy them. I don't know if this is the case with all bookstores, but mine is fine with you just kind of sitting in their like coffee section, getting a notebook and just taking the practice test right then and there. I think that is the best way to study for anything. Practice. Don't just read. Specific resources, I imagine that Kaplan, Princeton Review, those are probably going to be fine. You don't have to work too hard for them. What were your SAT scores?
Oh, I actually hate that question because I
Yeah.
do think SAT score is, again, a make or break when getting into college. It's just really important to be well-rounded. Having a certain score will not guarantee you admission into a school.
Yeah. And I'm not going to expect Celine to talk about it, but I will talk about it. I did get a 1500 on my SAT, but I didn't get into UF when there were a lot of people that got into UF with a lower score than I did. And I don't know the reason for it. It might be because there were better rounded students. Don't know the reason, but just know that SAT, everyone talks about the SAT and their GPA, but it isn't the most important thing out there. They're looking at a well-rounded student, not someone that can sit, straight for 3 hours and do this test and get it done and get a decent score. Just make sure that you're prioritizing all aspects of your life and you're passionate about what it is you do. And that should be plenty.
I was really worried about my SAT score, particularly because it was around the average for UF, while I knew a bunch of people were applying with these 1500 scores. But looking back on it, I had no reason to be worried because I knew I had put forth a well-rounded application. So as long as you show colleges who you really are and what your passions are, you have nothing to worry about, and one score does not define you at all.
100% agree.
Did office hours help you in passing your classes? So yes, and I spoke a little bit about this in the presentation. There are definitely some concepts that I didn't understand in class or some questions I had while taking quizzes, and going to office hours really clears this up because sometimes your professor or the teaching assistants that help the professors will either re-explain the concept or point you in the right direction to find additional support materials. So I didn't rely on them too much in every class, but the classes I did use and go to office hours for, it helped a lot in really lamenting that material.
I see a pretty specific question, like what are the prerequisites for a pre-med major? There's no major that you take to be called, pre-med. Pre-med is just a track that you put yourself on. You definitely probably want to pick a major that's going to align with the requirements that medical schools have. Med schools off the top of my head will want you to take all the chemistry classes up until orgochem, biochemistry, all the biology courses. And generally it's going to be majors like chemistry, biomedical sciences. Those are going to be the ones that are going to allow you to fit that. But you can be an English major. You can be someone that really loves to write, but also want to be a doctor and call yourself pre-med. You're just taking your English courses, you're getting your major, but you're also just taking pre-med classes as you go. You're not locked to a specific major. What is a good number of clubs to be in? So this is definitely a question that is it's an interesting one. I mean, it's going to depend entirely on the person. I would recommend giving a lot of clubs a shot in the beginning. Universities are going to have all kinds of clubs and organizations. They're all going to try to recruit you, especially in the first week. I don't know what the new year is going to look like, if we're going to be back to normalcy in August or September when colleges actually start up again. But if they do, you'll see a whole bunch of tables. You'll see all the fraternities, sororities, and organizations trying to attract you with, fancy T-shirts and gifts. They're gonna do everything they can to get you in. Don't be fooled. Go to as many meetings as you can and figure out which one is going to be the best for you. Like Celine said earlier, CKI was the one that we liked. It's the one that worked for us. We were able to be comfortable here. We were able to continue our journey in the Kiwanis family because we were both key clubbers and serve in our free time. Something that we enjoy doing. It worked for us. It might not necessarily work for you.
Someone asked, how do we talk to career development? So again, every college is different. At UF, though, you can just find the career development advisors, their emails listed on different websites. And if you shoot them an email, they can just set up meetings with you to talk about various topics. So there's just a lot of people to talk to, and you will always find the resource for it. Usually all it takes is a quick Google search on your university's website.
Are there dues for clubs in college? Yes, absolutely. They're very expensive. I'm not going to sugarcoat it. It depends on the club that you're trying to join, obviously. If you're doing a low-key club that doesn't meet up too often and doesn't have too many expenses, it probably won't be as expensive. CKI is probably around $20 to $40 across the district. That's what I'm pretty sure that's what it is. Whereas sororities and fraternities can cost you $1,500, and that's per semester. It just depends what it is you're interested in, but they're also going to provide housing and food and whatnot. Just depends on what it is you're looking for.
Someone asked, how much would it help to finish my AA during high school? So that's completely up to you. Sometimes if you want to get some credits out of the way and make sure that you're saving some money and time in college, that might be the right path for you, but it really depends. I know some people who have come in with their associate's degrees and they're graduating 2 years early, and some like me who haven't taken it and will be here for 4 years. I know some that have taken it, finished the first 2 years of college and decided to stay for the additional 4. So it's really up to you. If you want to get it, great. If you don't, it again won't be a make or break getting into college or finishing.
What's CKI like compared to Key Club? That is an excellent question. To me, CKI is a little bit more, I don't want to say relaxed because Key Club was also pretty relaxed, but you notice that there are a lot less of us from the get-go. You go to a club meeting, and back when I was in Key Club, I would walk into a room that would have 70 people. When I walk into a room like a CKI meeting room, you're probably going to have around 7 to 10. And that's okay. At first, it's a little bit of a shock. And then you start talking to everyone. You realize, okay, I really like these people because they're here because they want to do service and get to know other people on campus. And you quickly start to realize that this has a possibility of becoming, a new family. And, we call ourselves the Kiwanis family. And I understood it back in Key Club, but I didn't really understand it until I joined CKI, because I've met a lot of great people throughout the organization, not even in just CKI, but being active in CKI has allowed me to meet a lot of Key Clubbers, CKIers, and Kiwanians that I've grown very close to and learned a lot from. Overall, not too different of organizations, but the experience, there are definitely some key differences. In essence, we're here to serve our communities.
Someone asked, what's the difference between organizations and clubs? I guess we're going a little bit back and forth and talking about organization club. They're basically the same thing. The Quans family, for example, Key Club, CKI, they're organizations. Some people have very specific clubs like a pre-med club or a robotics club. So it just really depends on what that group of students associates with.
Oh, I see a question on doing study abroad. I personally have not. I'm sorry, can't answer that.
I haven't either, but most schools do have study abroad centers that you can go to, and they'll set you up with whatever program or whatever country you want to go to. Again, I can't speak on the specifics of it either, but I do have some friends that are doing study abroad that really like it. So if that's something you want to do, definitely go to a school that has the resources for that.
I think if you have bright futures, they pay for a significant amount as well. You know, you might even be going for free. I did have a friend that really enjoyed it. He went to Italy and did Orgo that semester, and he didn't say why he enjoyed it, but he came back with a few bottles of wine because I know the drinking age is 18 over there. I think that had something to do with it. Oh, it's our pleasure, Sana. You don't have to thank us.
Someone asked how important is it to take dual enrollment classes in high school. So I would say it's kind of like the same reason why you would take ACE and AP, either to prepare you for these college classes. Dual enrollment classes sometimes do transfer over. Not every AP and ACE and IB credit will count for something in college, but most dual enrollment classes do. But again, that's completely up to you and whatever your school offers. Are community service hours really important for college? As long as you're doing something you're passionate about, you're fine. So if community service is your passion, I know it was my passion, it was Meeth's passion, and that's how we landed ourselves into college. It's not for everyone, though. I will say a lot of high schools, at least in my school county, they did require community service hours to graduate and to qualify for bright futures. So I definitely recommend just going out and helping out in the community. And we are talking to key clubbers, so I assume that you do enjoy helping the community. So if that's your passion, definitely show that when you apply to college.
I see. What types of service projects do you guys do in CKI? So this year there has been a bit of a lull, given the pandemic, but in previous years, I know my school specifically, we've done roadside cleanups. We'll go to Metropolitan Ministries, which is a soup kitchen here in Tampa. I wouldn't say the service is necessarily too different than that of key clubs. It just depends on what it is your club wants to prioritize during that year. I know that USF generally likes to find a focus for the year and stick with it. And one year it was, food security. And so we would do a lot of projects with that. There was one year where we worked, I don't remember the name of the organization. It's a big one, something with Habitat. Maybe you guys know what I'm talking about. That sounds right. Yeah, so we do work with large organizations the same way Key Club would. Really easy to find service projects, not too different. But that being said, I personally think that you shouldn't be too focused on what you have been doing. If you go into one of these service organizations and you see that there's something wrong in your community and you want to do something about it, bring that up to your president or whoever's in charge of service projects and say, hey, you want to do this. I stand by not having the president and honestly all officers be the ones to plan projects. It should be all members of the club because you guys are all a part of the community. It's not just those 5 or 6 people.
Someone asked if there are any tips for getting scholarships. So when I was a senior last year, what I used were these websites. I don't remember the names of them, but you can look them up and they come up. And you just put your email in, your average GPA, your gender, some demographic information like that. And they generate a list of scholarships that you can apply to. And they would email you the applications for these scholarships, or they would at least give you the names. And that's how I found most of the scholarships I ended up applying to. So definitely take advantage of the resources you have. Everything I used was free. A lot of schools also offer scholarships. I know when you apply for a school, sometimes when you get in, they'll just, tell you, hey, we can give you $5,000 a year and you don't have to apply separately. I know Key Club offers scholarships as well. So I'm sure Murtaza will be talking about that once it rolls around. But there's a lot of ways to get involved in scholarships. And I definitely do recommend applying. You're not going to get all of them, but it never hurts to try and see what you can get.
And since I did, apply to college this year, I'm a senior, so it's already, that whole phase has gone through for me. Just to speak on just tips for scholarships, I think the biggest tip I can give you is start early. because once you finish a lot of your college applications by December or whatever it is, you'll realize that a lot of the scholarship deadlines have passed. So definitely when you create your college list and you try to organize your time to fill out those applications throughout August through December, make sure to also have a scholarship list so you can be aware of their deadlines as well. And the very convenient thing also is that a lot of the essays that you write for college can completely be recycled for scholarships. So definitely start early. That'll be my biggest tip, even though I'm not a college student. And definitely want to give everything all to Celine and Meet, but just as like a halfway senior right now, definitely start early.
College app essay tips. So for me and in my application process, writing the college essay, that general common app essay was the hardest part. But make sure to sell yourself and your passions and definitely make sure that that shines through in your essay. And as long as you write about something you're passionate about and things you've done to either help your community or whatever it might be, the essay will be fine. But definitely start it early. Don't wait last minute to start these essays. I know when I was a senior, I waited till August, September to start it when many of my college applications were due in October. So start early, have a couple people read them over, but it doesn't have to be anything extraordinary to land you into college.
I think we've gone through all the questions. Was there any question that we missed? Feel free to retype them if we did.
Are there any more questions? For some reason, the chat is not showing up on my end.
What is a good way to combat procrastination, especially if it is something that you've been doing for a very long time? So college is a very different schedule. For me, what helped was making sure I stuck to the same study routine every day. I was going and studying on weekends. Honestly, it's really up to you, but I think Meath can talk a little bit more about this. He's very much in time management.
Yeah, procrastination, obviously we all suffer through it just a little bit. The biggest thing is, accept that you procrastinate, forgive yourself for procrastinating, and make a game plan for how you're going to stop procrastinating and stick with it. You keep those 4 things in mind and you're going to do like a fantastic job. The biggest thing is making a schedule and like sticking to it, but make one that's realistic and one that's going to work for you. If you tell yourself you're going to study for 8 hours a day straight, chances are you're going to burn out after 3 hours, especially if it's not something you're used to. You just have to know who you are as a person and prioritize the work that you have to do. If I'm studying for an exam and I'll get up and start doing, my dishes or start vacuuming the place or doing laundry. Yeah, I'm doing chores, I'm doing work, but I'm procrastinating because I don't want to study. There is a priority in everything that you do, and that is no different. Honestly, I can't give you specific tips on procrastination. It is going to vary from person to person, but I will emphasize that if you do procrastinate, you will have a very hard time in college because, again, no one is really going to be there to hold you accountable, especially if you're not going to be living at home. So recognize that it's more difficult. And if you do, then your life will be significantly easier. College can be a very stressful time, but it can also be a really fun time. You're going to have a fantastic time getting to know yourself and the people around you.
Someone asked if there's anything that colleges look at, or do they look at everything? I think a lot of schools now are taking that holistic approach when looking at applications, and they want to make sure, again, that you're a well-rounded student, that you've really had your passions shine through. So I wouldn't say, again, that there's one make or break thing that they look at when reading through the applications. Is there an advantage for being in leadership roles in a club? I mean, that's again very much up to you. If you decide that your passions lie in a specific club and you want to be president of that club, go for it. But again, there isn't really one way or one thing that will get you into college or be a sheer set advantage.
I don't know if you're asking this question from like getting into a college perspective, but I will say that me stepping into leadership positions back in high school gave me the confidence to actually speak publicly. I was a horrible public speaker, still working on it. it's something that you learn a lot about who you are when you step into these leadership roles. And I think that I would recommend it to anyone that has passion for whatever organization they're in and want to better themselves, because you're going to open a lot of opportunities for yourself. You're going to meet a lot of great people. And for that reason alone, you should want to step into a leadership position, not necessarily just to get into a better university. What are medical prereq classes that can be done as dual enrollment classes that are not difficult? You know, difficulty is very subjective when it comes to classes. You just need to figure out what it is you're comfortable with. So I think dual enrollment is different from like AP courses, right? These are the ones that you take in colleges. I think those affect your college GPA and don't go away if you don't get an A. So yeah, you definitely want to be really careful when you're taking dual enrollment classes in high school, because you probably already have a lot that you're balancing as is. You know, you're finishing up. I'm assuming if you're doing dual enrollment, you're probably going to be graduating that year or the next. You know, you're going to be busy with that. You guys are on this call, so it tells me that you're in Key Club, and that can be a busy organization, you know, depending on your involvement. Hopefully you're very involved. It's a great place to be. Um, I Dual enrollment is good if you can handle it, but just know that it might not be for everyone, and you don't want to put yourself in a bad position and start off at a disadvantage because you started at the wrong time. Make sure that you know you can set aside at least 5 or so hours a week for a class, like a university level class.
So someone asked, do dual enrollment classes affect out-of-state universities? So every college is different. Even in Florida, every school is going to be a little bit different. What I did throughout my application process was, if a specific question like that came up where I wasn't sure what a general answer would be, just give a quick call to the admissions office, and one of the advisors there will answer it. They're super, super helpful. They usually pick up very quickly, and you'll be sure to get the right answer, so you're not going off of secondhand experiences when it comes to stuff that affects like credits.
Can it be difficult taking AP classes and dual enrollment class at the same time? Well, AP classes are difficult, so I imagine that taking dual enrollment class at the same time, yeah, that'd be pretty hard. I didn't take dual enrollment classes, but I do know that doing a whole bunch of AP courses and IB courses was not a fun time. So I'm gonna go ahead and say yes, it can be hard. But again, it's going to vary from person to person. If you're, you know, very academically inclined, you know what it is you want to do, and you're taking a course that you're comfortable with, then go ahead and knock it out. You're saving yourself money, and you're getting a head start. Maybe you could even graduate early. Oh, we got confirmation from Vanessa. Yep, it's good enough. You guys heard it. Dual enrollment is easier. Ooh.
So if there are no
Hot
other
take.
questions,
It could be. I didn't.
oh wait, go ahead, Meet. My bad.
I lost my train of thought. You can go ahead and finish. I was done on topic.
Oh, no worries. I know if there are no other questions, I did want to ask one question on my end, which I hope will help everyone that might be in this phase. But you know, just being in college already, you know, what are your advice for some people who are, you know, still trying to figure out their interests and still trying to figure out, you know, what major they want to pursue in?
Um, That is a very individualistic question. There's honestly so many majors in college, and not everyone is going to know what they want to pursue right off the bat. Sometimes it takes talking to professors or exploring a couple different majors to figure out what you want. I know at UF, you don't even really start in your specific major until your sophomore, junior year. So they give you some time to figure it out. And if you're not sure of what you want to pursue, for me, just talking to people helped a lot, especially when choosing a major. And changing your major is okay too. I know a lot of people that end up going back and changing their mind, and that's totally fine.
Yeah, I will say that's a pretty tough question to answer. You know, me personally, I've been very dead set on being a doctor from, you know, I think like 5th or 6th grade. So how one would go about it, not 100% sure. I think that's kind of the point of the gen eds that you're required to take in the beginning. You know, colleges want you to get an idea for what different courses can be like, and that's why they make you take them. You know, get a little bit of a language, get some psychology, some math, some science, and maybe if you're in that position where you don't know what it is you want to do, taking those classes would help you figure that out. Um, you know, clubs and organizations are also a really good avenue to take to figuring that out. You know, there are a lot of you know, when you think club and whatnot, you probably think service, maybe sport, you know, playing an IM sport, but there are also a lot of academically inclined clubs on college campuses especially, and they'll be able to guide you in the right direction.
It's really important to find mentors too. Professors for me have helped a lot, especially in the field that I want to go into, because they've really shown me what different careers I can do in my specific major. I think people are going off on dual enrollment classes in the chat.
Alrighty. Well, are there any more questions from the attendees, either in the chat or, you know, you can use the raise your hand, unmute mic option? I'll give the chat a minute just in case. Alrighty, so I guess we can go ahead and wrap up. Celine or Meet, whoever's sharing the screen, I did want to share just one last slide on my end just for, you know, contact information. Let me pull it up right now. Can you guys see it? Can you guys see my screen just to make sure? Perfect, perfect. So, you know, thank you to Celine and Meet for joining us today. I'm really, really happy that you all had many questions and you guys got your questions answered. We would definitely love to hear your feedback about this workshop. We would love to see, you know, what topics you'd like to see in the future. You know, do you know a future presenter, maybe a guest speaker who would love to speak on a topic? Definitely let me know. Definitely email me at treasure@floridakeyclub.org. Again, I did want to thank Celine and Meet for being our guest speakers today. I'm really, really happy that they joined us, and hopefully you all would consider a lot of the advice that they give and maybe join CKI and continue your Key Club service. Definitely that could be an option for you. I know we're a little bit over time today, but if you do have any questions that do pop up to mind for Celine and Meet, you can definitely email your questions to me at treasure@floridakeyclub.org, and I'll definitely forward over those questions to Celine and Meet and get you a response right away. But other than that, thank you all for attending. We hope to see you soon in our next workshop. I'll keep you all posted through email and Florida Key Club. And definitely, I did want to reassure you that if you do have any friends that would like to watch this workshop, or if you want to watch this workshop yourself, again, all of the workshops that we've had for Keys to Your Future will be on our website soon. So definitely be on the lookout for that. But other than that, thanks again to Celine and Meet, and I hope you all have a great evening.